Hello and welcome to today's business programme. I'm Liz Hay and my guest on today's show is Mark Flynn, owner of Mark Flynn Photography. Mark has recently been recognised in the Kirklees Business News and is the official photographer for the John Smith Stadium here in Huddersfield. During the week he's kept busy with commercial and PR photography and regularly shoots weddings and all manner of portraits at the weekends. He's been a photographer for 20 years and has worked on local, national and international commissions, operating out of his studio based in Kirklees. Hi Mark and welcome to the programme.
Hi Liz, thank you for having me on today.
So tell us Mark, something about more recent shoots that you've been working on.
Well, I've actually just returned from a shoot this afternoon, shooting lots of army apprentices. It's like pre-cadet training. Which is quite good from a photography point of view because lots of action stuff, sort of as well as sort of drill and rifle building and assembling and reassembling, sort of leadership type challenges and courses, and then we had some team shots around sort of an Army Land Rover, etc. and things like that. So it was quite an exciting afternoon, really.
Great, sounds really active. Yeah. So what's PR photography, Mark?
Public relations photography. It's what I do quite a lot of these days for local and national companies. Anything to raise the profile of a business, and it can be anything from a new staff starter, opening of a store, to prize winners. All that sort of encompasses PR photography.
And how important is it for a business to have a professional set of photographs taken of the team, their place of work and indeed their products?
I think it all adds to the professionalism of the company, and especially like today, nearly everything goes on a website, and a website's like your modern shop window, which display your products and your staff for that matter, because I think it's quite good for companies to portray the people that actually work there and don't use stock pictures of just random people, because it's nice for when you go and visit a company, and you've had a look on the company's website beforehand, you know who to expect to be speaking to when you arrive. So I think that's makes it a lot easier when you arrive at the company, if you can, you've got some idea of who you're going to speak to.
Absolutely, and it brings it to life,
Yes.
that business. I think it's fair to say that you've got a company motto that helps you to stand out from the crowd. Can you explain what that company motto is?
Well, a lot of people that know me know that I always say I shoot people. I've also added on to that, I'm the man that shoots your wife and frames your kids. And in addition to that, I'm also thinking about adding on the end, I also hang up the mother-in-law as well, but we might not go that far. But yes, I think I shoot people is used quite a lot by photographers in general, actually. Mm-hmm. But I always find that using that in my logo, it's always a good talking point, an icebreaker when you're going to, photograph someone. In fact, especially just this afternoon, of course, the Army lads were all over it, because obviously they're training to shoot people,
yeah.
And I'm there to shoot them. So it's quite a good talking point. And I've even just that phrase in itself has helped generated me work, because I've had people see it on my back walking down the street, and they've been making like shooting signs like that, and then I've walked in a shop and the slogan or logo has prompted in the mind that, I need a photographer for something.
Right.
And then a conversation started, and which has potentially led to work.
Let's generate work, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you start out in photography, Mark?
When I think I was about 15 or 16, my parents bought me first camera. And one of my hobbies is bird watching and wildlife watching. So they bought me a camera for that when it was like a 126 Kodak Instamatic. And
Okay.
you took a picture of a bird and it looked like it was like 50 miles away,
Mm-hmm.
So I thought this camera's no good for the job. You need some sort of telephoto lenses to get closer to them. So then of course I needed a camera that would take telephoto lenses, which I then saved up and bought with a little help from my parents as well. And then of course, how do you use the camera? So the first thing I did was I went to night school first when I was 16, which just happened to be at the school I was actually studying at when I was 16 at the time. So just carried on after school and did a bit of photography there, which then followed on to doing night city and guilds at night school at a different college. I then started work in the photographic laboratory sector first, keeping me interested in photography. And once I realised this is what I wanted to do for a living, I actually gave up what was quite a good job at the time and went full-time to the Blackpool and Fowler College and studied photography full-time for 2 years before I actually returned to the lab side again, but this time started working for myself on the weekend shooting weddings and portraits, up until a point where I got so busy with the work and I started to do commercial shoots as well. It got to the point where I was taking holidays from work to do work for myself, and then coming home and working till all hours in the morning, that eventually I just had to, give up what was quite a, well-paid and good job at the time in order to just concentrate for myself and work full-time.
And what has been one of your most complex shoots to date?
I think potentially ones where it's quite difficult lighting-wise, and you have to use lots of additional lighting, lots of studio lights. One shoot in particular comes to mind, which was a commercial stroke industrial shoot, which was actually for a industrial laundry manufacturer over in Blackburn, actually. So everything was obviously made on site, and the warehouse was really black, it was really dark, no lights whatsoever. The washing machines themselves, some of them were also of stainless steel, of which are like a reflection nightmare, so wherever you go you can see yourself in them. So that involved setting up lots of reflectors and screens and lots of portable lighting, etc., in order to minimise reflections and light them correctly so they were good enough to put on their website and also to produce brochures from.
What do you enjoy most about your job?
The variation, definitely. Yeah, it's so varied. I don't know literally what I'm doing from one day to the next, to be honest. It can be anything from a store opening, a family portrait, a wedding, a commercial shoot like I've just described, something industrial, to some big event, like it could be a charity ball or a sporting dinner or anything like that, really. Just the variation. And also all over the country now as well, just travel hundreds of miles. I think only the week before last I managed to clock up 800 miles in a week, just for architectural photography alone, just covering architectural photography for one of my largest clients.
Right, that's been great. Thanks, Mark. It's been really insightful, and I want to wish you all the best.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for today, but do join me again next week on the business programme.